What are you convinced people are pretending to enjoy? Maintaining their jobs as YouTube, TikTok, Instagram personalities. I briefly had mild success with the channel on Wiki 10 years ago, and it was nowhere near the level things are now. And I see the production value and the regularity of some of the content. And I just think how much pressure these folks feel to feed the machine or perish. Being a content creator sucks. When you start, it's kind of a passion project, which is great. Ideas are fresh, and inspiration comes naturally. When you get traction and find a formula that clicks, it becomes more about pushing content that generates as much traffic, likes, shares, and subs as possible. When this happens, your original ideas become more and more manufactured and less authentic, which takes the joy out of the creative process, making it feel like a job you hate. At some point, if you have enough of a following, the amount of time you spend making content is very likely more than a full-time job. I imagine that even if it's content you enjoy, you'd get burned out really fast. My presence. Sometimes I think, well, if they didn't like me, they wouldn't hang out with me. But then I overthink more and conclude that they're being polite and don't want to just ghost me. Long-ass, boring videos of their friends' kids. When someone asks me about my kid, I just show them one photo quickly and that's it. I know how much I hated when people start scrolling photo albums. Podcasts where the hosts just laugh at everything the other hosts' guests say. Nothing is that funny for that long dude. Playing tag with a 4-year-old. You have to let them win all the time to not make them cry. You have to run really slow, and you have to look like you're enjoying it. Playing hide and seek also. You never know who's hiding or who's seeking. My kid likes to tell me where he's gonna hide. Wrong. You let them win 30% of the time. This teaches them the value in winning and exploiting a physically superior being's weakness. Bars and restaurants with loud music and terrible acoustics. What's the point in being social in a place where they're trying to make it hard for you to socialize? Someone explained this once, and it made a lot of sense, so I'm gonna try. But it'll most likely be shitty. Loud music fills in awkward silences and covers up social faux pas in an environment where mixing and mingling is encouraged. It helps facilitate you hooking up with Jenny because she doesn't realize you're a terrible conversationalist since the music covers it up. Loud music forces people to talk more loudly and about simpler subjects. So it has the effect of filtering out serious subjects and shifting focus to the more excitable language, flirtatious language, etc. Basically like your example with Jenny. I personally enjoy it, if it's the right time and place. Not at a restaurant. But if there's a dance floor, sure. But I've got friends who hate it, because they always prefer calmer conversations, so loud places aren't for them. Having constant drama at work, in friend groups, and elsewhere really can't be all that exciting, can it? If I have one friend causing me too much drama, I usually avoid it like it's the plague. Seems some people tend to create drama everywhere they go. As my girls were heading into middle school, we sat down and discussed what it meant to be a drama monster. That term really worked well to help us communicate and begin labeling behavior that is toxic. Some people just act that way all the time, and with this definition the girls were able to make smart friend choices. And in the years since, they've caught me a few times and cautioned me against being my own version of a drama monster. Baby showers, reveal parties. I feel like those are just excuses to have get-togethers. Yeah, get together and buy me a bunch of fucking gifts. Having a job. As someone who hates working, I'd say it depends. I've done volunteer work I have loved and stayed longer than my shift, but my real job I do not like at all. Your boss's jokes. Spot on, sir! Trying to make everything Instagram ready. I've fallen in that trap before, deleted everything but Reddit. I'm much happier now living in the moment, watching my kids play instead of taking photos of them, eating my food instead of standing above it trying to take a picture in a crowded restaurant. Once you stop feeding your ego, a lot of worry stops with it. As a fellow Reddit and nothing else internet person, I think you should continue to take as many pictures of your kids as possible. Definitely takes pics of your kids for yourself and them, but don't feel the need to put them on Facebook or Instagram or need them to be oh so perfect looking. Clubbing. Gotta have a good group of friends or else it's just paying too much for drinks. As someone who really enjoys dancing, I gotta say it ain't pretend for me. In my 20s I loved it, so much potential. In my 30s I tolerated it. Now in my 40s and thank God I'm married and don't have to do it. The Kardashians. My one wish is to find out what the hell made them so popular. Kim had one of the first Hollywood sex videos and her mom leveraged a career for the family out of it. Life. Why is it so expensive? I'm not even having a good time. Hey, here's this really fun game where you start out at the bottom and if you do everything right and make only 1 or 2 mistakes you'll get to a level of acceptable comfort that will quickly dissipate once we catch on and crank up the inflation meter. Now you're 20 years older and back at square one, but hey, at least you're not homeless. Yet. The basic version sucks, but the premium version is amazing if you can afford it. Anything that requires an insane amount of waiting in line. Amusement parks, brunches at fancy places, nightclubs, etc. Like you're engaging in a barrier to make the thing you want seem worthwhile. I dunno, I despise lines. I once went into an amusement park on a cloudy day with occasional rain. It was literally the best experience ever. There was this roller coaster that normally was really popular with probably over an hour of waiting time. But on this day, nobody was there because of the shitty weather. The wait in line was like 5-minute max. I rode that thing like 5 times in under half an hour. Literally the best experience ever. We were extremely lucky with the weather. American talent shows like quite literally America's Got Talent and American Idol. Who the fuck are these shows catered to? The dialogue is cheesy, idiotic, and fake as fuck and the structure doesn't make sense. Back then it had categories and the contestants would compete against their own groups, which at least made it somewhat interesting. Now, anything fucking goes, and you could have a wannabe Jabberwocky dance group of about 20 people versus little Timmy playing a harmonica with his a-hole. It makes no goddamn sense. I used to actually watch this, but only the first few episodes of each new season where they were auditioning people. The variety was interesting and a lot of the contestants were naturally good performers. Once the chosen ones started getting molded by the pros in later episodes, it became horrifyingly unwatchable. Those big spider leg eyelashes they pay for and put on. That nasty fermented shark they over in Iceland. Same with that cheese with live maggots in it that they eat in Italy. Being a parent to kids aged 0 to 2. It's great and terrible at the same time. I have a 16-month-old. A lot of it can be boring as the kid does the same things over and over and over, and then suddenly they perform a new skill, like climbing into a chair for the first time, and it's like, whoa, cool. 0 to 2 is actually the easiest and best time. 3 and up is where it gets dicey and stressful, especially when you add another one in there. 3-hour-long church services. Jesus gave the Sermon on the Mount in like 5 minutes. Get over your ego, pastor. Waking up before dawn to work out. I do that several times a week. I partially agree, the devil's in the details. I don't enjoy getting up and starting my workout, but while I'm doing it is okay, and I absolutely love having worked out. I go running 4 or 5 times a week, often before breakfast. I absolutely hate running. I have been doing this for a good 10 years now, and I can confidently state that there hasn't been a single run I enjoyed. Not 1 minute of it. But there also hasn't been a single run that I regret having done. For me, running has made an enormous difference to how I feel. I didn't start running until I was in my 40s. I feel way better now than I did when I was in my 20s. Surströmming. There is absolutely no way people in Sweden actually enjoy this kind of puke. Surströmming is terrible. However, at the end of the pandemic, we were having trouble maintaining enthusiasm and motivation at work. My colleagues were financially destitute, and the future was uncertain. Nobody wanted to be around others, which was a concern. I make tattoos for a living, and part of the job is keeping people laughing and keeping morale high. So I decided to order a can of surströmming and take one for the team. We gathered outside as I cracked the can, under a bucket of water. The stench could only be described as foul. Think of every description of Sex Panther in the film Anchorman. But everybody was curious, and it got every one of my colleagues and their clients out into the backyard in a show of solidarity, or to watch me make a cunt of myself. As soon as the can was exposed to the air, the flies descended. Hundreds of them. People gagged. The smell was somehow worse around 5 meters away, rather than ground zero. But I held down my vomit, and I ate that rancid fish, thereby putting a smile on everyone's face that day. We bonded over the smell of rot, and somehow it brought morale back. Surströmming has its uses. I want to try it, but a can in my local shop is something like €27. I'm not paying that much for rotten fish. Contemporary design trends. The all-white gray homes with rendered exteriors are so lifeless and all look the same. There's no way people actually want this, right? My favorite color is gray, so I am really enjoying the trend. I like how most things are now available in gray, so I can find one I would like. A lot of popular modern rap music. There's a lot of good stuff, but there's somewhere I'm like, seriously? People have been saying this every year about rap for the past 30 years. When we reflect, we forget the noise and the best stuff comes to the top. Often we don't see the big picture of a period of music until we really reflect on it later. Kombucha. Every single one I've tried. Just undrinkable. OMG, I sincerely love kombucha. Maybe it's one of those things where some people have genes that cause it to taste different. Because it just tastes like tangy fruity soda to me. Getting older. Watching pro golf on TV. What are you convinced people are pretending to enjoy? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.